this week, President Biden celebrated signing legislation protecting same-sex marriages and interracial marriages. He also held a 3-day U.S. Africa summit focused on investing more in the continent as China and Russia loom large there.
The people of Africa are indispensable partners. Africa belongs to the table in every room where global challenges are being discussed, and in every institution where discussions are taking place.
So, Monica, tell us a little bit about the timing of this. Why is President Biden focusing on Africa right now, and how much is Russia and China and their influence on the continent? How much is that sort of influencing his thinking here?
Yeah, and the president was quick to say during his remarks this week that he didn't want this to be about strategic competition, but of course you can't ignore the fact. And when you're talking about gathering nearly 50 leaders, almost 50 heads of state from the continent that came to Washington here for this major summit, it was significant. But this was also something that some African leaders said they've heard before. They've seen the U.S. try to make this commitment and pledge to invest in Africa, and then not having as much follow through. So there was some healthy skepticism here, but ultimately the Biden administration pledged more than $55 billion in American spending over the next 3 years. And one of the other big headlines is that the president said that he, the first lady, some major cabinet officials, all will be visiting sub-Saharan Africa at some point in 2023. So that is significant. And President Biden spent a little bit of time in Egypt in November, but he hasn't, of course, spent much time there as president in the continent of Africa. So that will be a major trip to multiple countries, we assume, that we don't know when or many other details. But this is something that other past administrations, Democrat and Republican, have before tried to talk about this. But this is in a different context in terms of White House officials I talked to who said this is also a lot about rebuilding relationships that were damaged during the Trump era foreign policy, particularly with countries that he insulted in Africa. And so this was as much about restoring that kind of diplomacy as making a pledge in the future. Whether it has as much follow through as some of these African leaders hope, we'll see.
And Monica, in the last minute that we have here, could you talk to me a bit about what the White House is saying about the president's own polling numbers? He's had a good couple weeks here. You think about Brittany Griner being home, inflation slowing, the big legislation on same-sex marriage and interracial marriages. But the polls show that he's still struggling in a lot of ways in the polls. What are you hearing about that? And might that influence his big, seems like holiday decision to run again?
He's still underwater, Yamiche. That's absolutely right, though he's been climbing slightly since October. And there have been a lot of legislative wins and administrative victories that they point to. You mentioned a bunch of them in the last couple of weeks. So they feel like there's momentum, especially with the midterms, that they had been bracing for something a little tougher. They feel like that was really a bit of a turning point, and that in the last couple of weeks, with gas prices lower than they were a year ago, with inflation possibly cooling a bit there, that they do feel that the economy and that outlook is improving as well. All of that will factor in. And we're just learning, actually, that in the last 24 hours, the White House had a series of meetings with key allies, key groups who would be hugely influential in a potential 2024 campaign, essentially bringing them to the White House and saying, look at our long list of accomplishments. This is what we will likely build a 2024 campaign on. Though, again, the intention is to run. It's not completely official until it's all done. They'll huddle over the holidays. And then I think we'll learn very early next year what that decision is. But
a big decision, definitely a big decision, and one I know that you'll keep watching and we'll keep learning from you about. So thank you so much, Monica. Thank you, of course, to all of you. We'll have to leave it there. Thank you for showing us and sharing your reporting.